Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're turning back the clock, way back, like over 25 centuries back, to look at the legendary builder of Babylon. We're setting the stage for what has got to be one of the most dramatic historical descents ever recorded. We're talking about King Nebuchadnezzar II. This was a man who commanded impossible wonders, crushed entire nations, and wielded an earthly authority that, honestly, it echoed like a warning from the gods. To the people of his era, he wasn't just a monarch, he was the literal center of the universe. But, as we're gonna see, the higher the pedestal, the much harder the fall.
History's most powerful king went insane after one sentence. I mean, it sounds unbelievable, right? But that is exactly what we are dissecting today. You see, the most fascinating part of Nebuchadnezzar's story isn't his vast empire, and actually scratch that, it's not his military conquests either. It's how the single proudest, most untouchable man on earth was entirely broken by a force he couldn't threaten, and certainly couldn't control. It's an incredible story of ultimate power colliding head-on with ultimate fragility.
Okay, let's dive into part 1. Destiny in human form. To really understand his fall, we first have to understand his unimaginable status at the absolute height of human power. Nebuchadnezzar wasn't just a king. To his subjects, he was basically destiny in human form. He stood at the apex of the known world, a living god whose mere word could reshape geography and command the fates of millions. To grasp the sheer scale of his ambition, just look at the glory of Babylon. We are talking about civilization's beating heart 2,500 years ago. Its walls were legendary, literally virtually impenetrable. Its markets just overflowed with the wealth of distant, conquered lands. Picture yourself walking through a city glowing with brilliant blue tiles, colossal golden statues, and these towering temples dedicated to divine power. Nebuchadnezzar's ambition was totally limitless. He didn't just want to rule his era, he wanted his achievements to outlive time itself.
But here is where the psychology of this story gets really fascinating. It is a textbook case of hubris, that dangerous side effect of extreme power. Nebuchadnezzar wanted every conquered kingdom, every single new palace, to serve as a monument to his own personal glory. And the dangerous shift that happens in the human mind is this: the more control you gain, the easier it becomes to believe you are entirely untouchable. His massive success bred a completely blinding arrogance.
Which brings us to part 2, the warning of the tree.
That blinding arrogance eventually triggered a supernatural warning. According to the biblical book of Daniel, the king began experiencing some seriously troubling dreams. And listen, these weren't your ordinary run-of-the-mill nightmares. These visions carried the immense, suffocating weight of judgment. The universe, it seemed, was putting him on notice. He saw a massive tree reaching high into the heavens. Its branches sheltered the earth, and its fruits literally fed countless people. It was a perfect symbol of his vast, life-giving empire. But suddenly, by heavenly command, the tree is violently cut down. All that remains is a devastated stump. And this brilliantly illustrates a terrifying premonition of total collapse.
Disturbed and honestly desperate, the king called for interpreters, but no one could explain it. Well, except for one man. Enter Daniel. He was a Hebrew exile known for his profound wisdom and faith. And he did what absolutely no one else dared to do. He looked the most powerful man on earth in the eye and told him that the towering tree represented the king himself. Daniel warned Nebuchadnezzar that his pride had become incredibly dangerous, and unless he immediately turned toward humility and justice, he was going to lose absolutely everything.
That takes us to part 3, the descent into madness.
Just imagine hearing a prediction of your own doom while sitting on the most powerful throne in the world. For a brief moment, the warning actually seemed to work. Nebuchadnezzar listened. But as we know all too well, human pride has a funny way of returning quietly, creeping right back in when we feel the most secure. And that leads directly to his terrifying descent into madness. If we walk through the suspenseful timeline of this downfall, it starts with the troubling dream, followed by Daniel's stark warning. Then, remarkably, there is a full year of grace, 12 months for the king to change his ways. But it all culminates in step 4, the palace boast, which instantly triggers step 5, instant judgment.
Let's zoom in on that fatal palace boast for a second. 12 months after the warning, the king is walking through his royal palace, admiring his incredible city. And he declared that he alone had created its greatness through his own power and majesty. He completely erased any higher power or, honestly, any collective effort from the thousands of people who actually built it. And in the exact instant of this self-glorifying boast, the biblical account tells us that judgment fell, his sanity completely and utterly shattered.
Just absorb this terrifying contrast.
On the one hand, you have his royal status, the commander of armies, the ultimate builder of civilization, and on the other, the punishment. This mighty ruler was reduced to wandering like an animal. He lived out in the wilderness, drenched by rain, totally separated from human society. The text actually describes his hair growing out like eagle feathers and his nails like bird claws. For an ancient audience where the king represented absolute order and divine favor, seeing him reduced to a wild beast, that was the ultimate symbol of complete humiliation.
Moving on to part 4, a sudden restoration.
Now, if you think this is just a dark tale about divine retribution, hang on, because this is exactly where the story pivots. His downfall, as absolutely brutal as it was, wasn't the end. It was a transformation. The sequence of his redemption starts when the king, living as a beast, finally lifted his eyes toward heaven. Instead of praising himself, he acknowledged a power greater than his own throne, his armies, and his monuments. And the moment he did that, it's like a switch flipped. His sanity and his kingdom were restored. His understanding returned. He got his crown back, but his perspective had changed forever.
The crucial point here is this: humility does not erase greatness. It reshapes it. This right here is the core thesis of Nebuchadnezzar's entire journey. True strength actually begins right where arrogance ends. Even overwhelming, blinding pride can be restructured into wisdom if a person is just willing to recognize their own limits.
And finally, part 5, the timeless modern mirror.
So, you might be wondering, why are we talking about a 2,500-year-old Babylonian king today? Well, because beneath the golden palaces and the ancient texts, this story acts as a timeless modern mirror. The psychological depth of this narrative feels surprisingly, almost uncomfortably modern for us today. I mean, think about it. We live in a society that constantly rewards aggressive confidence. We're encouraged to engage in endless social media self-promotion, essentially acting as the architects of our own personal Babylons. We demand that our leaders project unwavering dominance, and we very often view humility as a fatal weakness. Our modern obsession with being entirely self-made perfectly mirrors Nebuchadnezzar's fatal pride right before his massive fall.
But the hard truth is, human power is incredibly fragile. So many people spend their entire lives chasing control, building careers, wealth, and influence, thinking it guarantees security. But history repeatedly proves otherwise. Empires fall, reputations collapse, fortunes disappear overnight. Nebuchadnezzar's story is a vivid reminder that leadership without self-awareness and humility eventually turns destructive. Power without perspective simply collapses under its own weight. Which leaves us with this final, vital question to reflect on. What happens when the identity we've built around success suddenly breaks apart? When the monuments we've built to ourselves crumble? Who are we underneath? It's a question that challenges the proudest heart to change before the truth violently breaks through. So, take some time today to think about the empires you might be building in your own life. And hey, if you enjoyed this explainer diving into the rise, fall, and hidden lessons of history, be sure to subscribe for more.